An architectural space in a hospital. This video describes how spaces are designed in many hospitals. Once a medical space has been designed and constructed, the users usually aren't concerned with the efforts of the designers and builders of the space. The new users will take for granted that the space is designed and built especially for them. By using a model of the total design and construction process, we can better understand the process. Such a model has the following components. The proposal phase. A project is initiated with a commitment to go forward by the hospital administration. The program phase. Words are used to describe the project that has been initiated. The design phase. Design professionals develop the image and form of the new project. The construction phase. The project takes physical form. And the evaluation phase. Evaluation takes place after the completion of construction. It is a feedback period. Of these 5 components of the total design and construction process, this video examines the design phase to help clarify the process commonly used in the design of many architectural projects.
The design phase can be one of the most mysterious and stressful in the evolution of a building project. People are asked to look at a problem in a different way. They're exposed to terminology they're unfamiliar with, and they have to face difficult decisions involving scarce capital resources, people's time, and creating effective environments. Success in the design phase requires leadership and understanding. In many ways, design parallels medicine in mixing science, art, and judgment together to reach a decision. Patience, cooperation, and understanding are essential in creating a successful design process.
As administrators in your institution, you should be preparing for your role in the upcoming design phase.
Administratively, we have to put our team together to interface with the architect. It's important. The architect knows what the team players are and what their responsibilities are. We have to be able to tell the architect what our needs are, and they have to be real needs. And we have to sieve out some of the ideas that some of the staff people have.
You will not be alone in your tasks. Instead, you will be developing a team to undergo the challenges ahead.
The process of programming and planning is not a one-way street. It's not something the architect does to you. It's something the architect does with you. You have to be prepared to be a full team member in that dialogue.
St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri has a talented design team that develops their facility. Presently, they are developing a new 10 to 12 bed medical intensive care unit. The unit will be added to the roof of this existing hospital building. Before the architects can design the ICU, they will look for a program from the hospital administration.
Schematic design is the first step in the design process. It's important, though, before schematic design begins, that a functional space program be completed from which the design intent can be developed.
A program is a written document describing the functional objectives of the project. It gives preliminary information concerning the new spaces, the proposed time frame for design and construction, and the proposed preliminary budget.
Programming is problem-seeking. It can be defined as the list of spaces, their size and desired relationship, and narratives identifying the intended use of the spaces. It has been defined as words before pictures. The design which follows is problem-solving, in contrast to this problem-seeking exercise.
The proposed preliminary budget in a program has many components, but the major categories are the construction costs, made up of many components such as building costs, site development costs, built-in equipment costs, utility costs, and a contingency. The construction costs are generally 65 to 75% of the total budget for the project. The other major category of the preliminary budget is the project development costs. This includes professional fees, movable equipment costs, site survey, financing, permits, and other miscellaneous costs. Project development costs are generally 25 to 35% of the total budget for the project. Be aware that your architect is estimating the construction costs. Once the program is established, the design phase is ready to begin.
The design phase is that part of the project that runs all the way from the definition of requirements and programming to the point where you're ready to proceed with construction, knowing precisely what you're going to build, where, how much it's going to cost, and who's going to do the work. The phases that comprise the design activity usually include schematic design, design development, construction documents, and bidding and negotiation.
The design phase really isn't a singular phase. It's a series of phases, sometimes sequential, sometimes overlapped.
In the design phase, the St. Luke's Hospital administration and the hospital architect will meet to share their objectives. The architect receives a program from the hospital administration.
The most important administrative objective is to achieve a balanced input from the administration and the hospital staff. That includes the physician, the nurse, as well as the department heads, so that everyone involved buys off on the design solution and becomes a part of it and makes it a success. I think another important point is to generate enthusiasm within the process. That is to say, it will be successful if everybody gets behind it and enthusiastically looks forward to that new facility. What makes a project a stellar response and a remarkable event as far as the architect's objectives is that it goes beyond the essential ABCs of medical functional design and planning. It incorporates those essence through the hospital architect, but it incorporates also the image that the hospital wants to have in the community, and the look, the appearance that it wants to have is important.
Subsequent to these meetings, the St. Luke's design team and key staff discussed the strategies for the new ICU. The architect is preparing for the first phase of design, schematic design.
Schematic design is that critical early stage where the owner and the architect come to a mutual understanding of what the project can be within the framework of the owner's needs, the owner's time frame, and the owner's budget. It's at this point where the architect explores alternatives of circulation, of building systems, and of massing. And they jointly select a single concept to be carried forward to develop in the project.
The purpose of schematic design is not a detailed search for particular information. It's more of a general idea of how the space and form will fit together. The term schematic design is used to describe a plan or diagram. In this case, the schematic design describes the program developed previously for the project in a graphic way. In the schematic design phase, the hospital administrator will be very active, working as a coordinator.
In schematic design, the administrator has many responsibilities. One is to provide the people, the staff, to work with the architects. It's very time-consuming, and these people need to be dedicated to the process. A second responsibility is to do their homework, to find out what it is they need, and to tell the architect about this in time. A third key responsibility is to communicate internally to the staff so that the hospital staff knows what's going on. And last, and perhaps most important, to make decisions. The architect needs to communicate to the administrator during schematic design, primarily to tell the administrator what's needed. Most often, this is set forth in terms of a good work plan and schedule. The architect also needs to communicate if there are potential problems developing, codes, cost overruns, or things of that sort. The architect needs to tell the administrator when key decisions are needed so that the owner can respond in a timely way.
Now that the objectives of the project are established and the doors of communication have been opened, the architect returns to his office to develop a scheme for the project.
The first step in the development of schematic design is the establishment of what I refer to as block plans. The block plans identify the various circulation systems, locate departments both horizontally and vertically, and establish the massing for the building. After the block plans are completed and approved by the owner, then schematic one-line drawings can be developed that locate all the individual rooms and establish the overall design intent.
The architect continually reviews the sketches being developed, taking the best ideas of each new sketch. After reflecting on many ideas, the architect searches for those ideas that bring strength to the design. The architect makes trade-offs in design and determines which elements are more important than others. They search for a resolution to the problems of the program requirements. This graphic indicates the reflective, cyclical nature of schematic design. Schematic design is a creative process based on the designer's experiences and the trial and error methods employed. Schematic design is not similar to the scientific thought processes you may be used to seeing in your institution's research laboratories.
There are various tools that we utilize during schematic design. One example would be relationship diagrams that establish the affinities between departments. We quite often use gaming boards that provide various alternatives for placement of departments. Various sketches are developed in both two-dimension and three-dimension to communicate the design concept, as well as finished renderings and models that show the exterior design and massing of the facility. Also, a outline specification is developed and a preliminary cost estimate.
Often during the design phase, architects will refer to terms net square feet and gross square feet. This image shows the net assignable areas, usually referred to in terms of net square feet, for the medical ICU at St. Luke's Hospital. Net assignable area refers to the areas of the functional spaces measured from their interior finishes. This image of the medical ICU shows the net unassignable areas. This includes exterior walls, partitions, circulation areas, mechanical and electrical service areas, ducts, and structure. The net unassignable areas, along with the net assignable areas, combine to make up the gross area for the project. Gross area is usually referred to as gross square feet. After key members agree that a preliminary design satisfies their needs, as the St. Luke's Hospital design team was able to do with this schematic drawing for their new ICU unit, schematic design ends and design development begins.
The American Institute of Architects' definition of design development is the establishment of drawings and documents that fix and describe the size and the character of a project. Such issues as architectural, structural, mechanical, and electrical systems are addressed, as well as materials and other related considerations.
During design development, the administration must communicate to the architect increasingly detailed responses to questions and solutions offered by the architect, the engineer, and other consultants. During design development, the architect must communicate to the administration increasingly detailed questions and solutions. Literally everything from the number of oxygen outlets bedside to the color of the door hinges to the height of a lab work counter.
Schematic design has resolved many problems of the medical ICU. In design development, the design team has become much more specific. As many meetings as necessary are scheduled to resolve specific problems. A room-by-room analysis is scrutinized. It's important the design team help the key medical staff to understand their new space. In this meeting, the design team taped out a portion of the conference room so the medical staff would understand the size of the new patient rooms. In prior meetings, they discussed types of fixtures and finishes. The design team took key medical staff on a field trip to a manufacturer's representative. Here they saw examples of the new nurses' stations and head walls for the new medical ICU. It's very important that the hospital administration carefully review documents and propose specifications. Don't hesitate to ask for help in interpreting the documents. Ask questions. Solve problems with the design as early as possible. Be sure to have any in-house hospital personnel or staff engineers help you to interpret the documents. Lee Kortmeyer of the St. Luke's Hospital design team reviews the options for each space. He determines with the staff that their needs will be met. Key members of the staff are asked to sign off on the design of their spaces. This assures all parties that their needs have been considered. The St. Luke's design team has developed written material designating the specific needs of the different rooms. These design development drawings reflect all the spatial, furniture, and equipment needs of this ICU project. The architect's intention in design development is to freeze all design decisions so construction documents can begin with minimal interruptions from the designers of the space. With this done, construction documents will begin.
Construction documents are the documents that the builder uses to build the facility. They're not the time when design decisions are made. They're the time when technical information is put down in a manner that allows the project to be built as intended. It consists of drawings and specifications. The drawings show the contractor what and where, and the specifications tell him how and the quality of the materials to use.
Creating construction documents is a period of significant production. There is a lot of information to be transcribed to drawing and text. Every effort is made to eliminate mistakes that could occur later in construction. Once the construction documents are in use at the construction site, it becomes expensive to make changes from the drawings. A change order form, like this one, is used to make changes during construction. A change order is a contractual mechanism to order changes in the work for a specified cost and time. The construction documents for the St. Luke's Hospital Medical ICU will look like this. And the specifications for the different components of the project will look like this. Remember, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Construction documents will very likely be the last chance to make modifications to the drawings and specifications before a contractor is asked to begin the construction phase. Having successfully developed the construction documents, this project is ready to move into the final component of the design phase, bidding and/or negotiation. There are many different ways for the owner and a contractor to agree upon a way of delivering the project.
Once the contract documents are completed, the owner needs to approach the bidding phase. During the bidding phase, the architect's responsibilities are primarily to assist the owner in obtaining a bid from a qualified contractor that will lead to the successful completion of the project. Normally, the architect is assisting the owner during this phase rather than taking the primary responsibility. The bidding period is a time for very open communication between both the architect and the owner. It's important for the architect to give the owner a realistic view of the conditions that prevail in the construction market. On the other hand, it's important for the owner to be open and realistic about his expectations, including particularly a clear picture of the funds that are going to be able to award a construction contract.
In the design phase, a hospital administrator must try to successfully execute schematic design, design development, construction documents, and bidding and/or negotiations to develop quality space in the hospital. The design phase is only one component of the total design and construction process. Much of the administrator's effort is involved in the proposal phase, the programming phase, and the design phase of the project. The architect's standard services will, in general, begin in the design phase and continue to a lesser extent in the construction phase. These activities make up the standard services of the architect's work. The yellow shaded areas represent the work provided by the architect in the design phase. The green shaded area represents the work provided by the architect in the construction phase. Be aware that while the architect provides these standard services, your architect or another design professional may provide you with additional services you need to deliver your project. Communication is a key to quality design. To respond to your needs, your architect must be aware of your needs.
You know, one of the most successful projects I was ever involved in was where an administrator who happened to be a doctor was best able to communicate his organization's dream and vision for the project. He expressed the desire to have the project look as healthy as possible, and he used the term of oxygenation in the blood as his view of what made something look healthy. Together we derived a scheme for color in the building that made the color get warmer and richer the deeper you got into the project. And it turned out very much to match his vision. It won an award and was one of the most gratifying experiences that I've had in satisfying an owner's dream.